First, when I decided to be a singer, I moved to a synagogue in Queens, because that's what you do, where this band lived. It was obviously not an active synagogue.
In 2006, a global superstar made a decision that shocked the world. At the height of her fame, Madonna didn't just drop a hit album, she adopted a fragile one-year-old boy from a struggling orphanage in Malawi. Some called it charity, others called it a publicity stunt. But for that little boy, it was the beginning of a completely different life. 16 years have passed since that moment, and that once-lost child, he's no longer just part of the story, he's writing his own. From near-death illness to elite soccer academies, red carpet appearances to launching his own music venture, this is the incredible journey of David Banda. You may think you know how the story goes, but trust me, you haven't seen this chapter. Madonna's humanitarian awakening. By the early 2000s, Madonna had already cemented her legacy as one of the most influential pop stars in history. Known for pushing boundaries and constantly reinventing herself, she shocked the world again. This time not with a new album, but with a dramatic shift in focus. Her attention turned to global humanitarian issues, particularly the plight of children in sub-Saharan Africa. Moved by stories of extreme poverty, disease, and lack of basic resources, Madonna realized that her influence could be used for more than entertainment. It was the beginning of a profound personal transformation, one that would reshape her legacy far beyond the music industry. In 2006, Madonna co-founded Raising Malawi, a non-profit organization dedicated to supporting orphans and vulnerable children in one of the world's poorest nations. Unlike many celebrities who write checks and move on, she took an active role in the charity's mission. Raising Malawi focused on sustainable solutions, building schools, improving healthcare, and supporting grassroots programs that empowered communities. Madonna wasn't just lending her name to a cause, she was deeply involved, traveling frequently to the country and meeting directly with local leaders and children affected by poverty and disease. Madonna's humanitarian awakening revolutionized the way she leveraged her platform. Over the years, she built up her philanthropic work, building the Mercy James Institute for Pediatric Surgery and Intensive Care in Blantyre, the first of its kind in Malawi. Her actions inspired other celebrities and fans to act worldwide and be compassionate. Underneath the media attention and public outcry, Madonna's work in Malawi has taught thousands of children and has provided essential medical care to thousands of families. Her movement from #1 on the charts Rebel to global humanitarian attests to robust change, utilizing celebrity not simply for influence, but for impact. Her journey, however, has not been without controversy. Critics have questioned her methods, particularly around the adoption of Malawian children and the influence of Western celebrity culture on local communities. Despite the scrutiny, Madonna remained steadfast, addressing challenges head-on and adapting her efforts to be more culturally sensitive and community-driven. Over time, her commitment silenced many detractors as the tangible results of her initiatives began to speak louder than headlines. By acknowledging missteps and evolving her approach, Madonna demonstrated that genuine humanitarian work requires humility, resilience, and a willingness to listen, qualities that continue to define this lesser-known but equally powerful chapter of her life. And it was one unexpected moment in Malawi, a single encounter with a sick, fragile baby boy, that would turn Madonna's mission from a charitable cause into something deeply personal and life-changing. The fateful meeting. In 2006, during one of her humanitarian trips to Malawi, Madonna visited the Home of Hope orphanage in the small town of Mckinji. At the time, she was fully immersed in philanthropic work through her foundation, Raising Malawi. Her goal was to support vulnerable children and assess where her charity could make the greatest impact. But what she didn't expect was that this visit would alter her life forever. While walking through the orphanage, surrounded by dozens of children. Madonna locked eyes with a tiny, frail boy named David Banda, born September 24, 2005, just over a year old, but already battling severe health complications. David had endured more in his first year of life than most do in a lifetime. Born into a remote village plagued by poverty, he lost his mother shortly after birth due to complications and lack of proper medical care. His father, David Banda, a struggling farmer with several other children, made the heart-wrenching decision to place David in the orphanage in hopes he might receive the care he couldn't provide. By the time Madonna met him, David was suffering from pneumonia and other serious illnesses. His survival was uncertain, but something about him captured Madonna's heart and instantly. The instant Madonna lay eyes on David, she described feeling an intense draw, a profound maternal sense that transcended sympathy. Even in his weakened state, his heart hit her. At that moment, she didn't feel sympathy. She felt mission. That was the genesis of a very personal mission. Instead of merely giving money or resources, Madonna felt driven to personally be responsible for his destiny. Her heart-led decision to adopt David was not one of convenience, and it initiated a legal and emotional struggle that would quickly erupt on the international stage. What was intended as a routine charitable visit became one of the most defining moments of Madonna's career. Encountering David Banda redefined her role from philanthropist to parent. It also brought to light the complicated realities of global adoption, particularly in nations without official legal frameworks for such endeavors. While the critics and media would soon descend with their opinions, at the heart of it all were a world superstar and a vulnerable child, two lives colliding by happenstance, tied together by fate. This encounter would not only alter David's life, it would redefine Madonna's as well, creating a connection that would survive each test to come. Legal battles and global backlash. Madonna's decision to adopt David Banda was met with immediate international attention and intense scrutiny. At the time, Malawi had no formal legal framework for international adoptions, making the process complicated and highly unusual. Critics and human rights groups questioned whether Madonna's celebrity status allowed her to bypass procedures that would have taken ordinary people years to navigate. While the adoption was intended as a personal act of compassion, it quickly became a lightning rod for debate about ethics, privilege, and cultural preservation. The backlash escalated as media outlets across the globe reported on the situation. Many accused Madonna of exploiting the adoption process, using her influence to fast-track the legal requirements. Some even labeled the adoption a PR stunt, suggesting that she was using David's story to boost her image. Others raised concerns about cultural erasure, arguing that taking a child out of his homeland, regardless of intention, could sever his ties to his heritage and identity. The controversy wasn't just about Madonna's actions, it sparked a larger conversation about race, wealth, and Western intervention in Africa. Madonna and attorneys were in over their heads. Malawi government and legal leaders resisted, warning of the setting of a wrong precedent and asserting that there would be no required residency. In court, lawyers and judges had to decide whether granting an intercontinental celebrity's adoption without using normal legal guidelines was permissible. Throughout the ordeal, Madonna had claimed that her intentions were purely altruistic, stating that her only aim was to give David a chance at life and existence. Not even the criticism stopped her, and she maintained pushing for the adoption. In the midst of legal turmoil, there was one voice speaking out on Madonna's behalf, that of David's father, David Banda. Publicly, he clarified that sending his son to the orphanage was a last resort, not abandonment. Having few resources and several other children to care for, he believed Madonna could give David a life he couldn't. His backing was a turning point. In 2008, after 2 long years of legal hurdles and global controversy, the Malawian government sanctioned the adoption. The decision marked the end to a problematic era, but the beginning of an atypical new existence for David. A new beginning. When the adoption was officially finalized in 2008, David Banda's life underwent a dramatic transformation. At just 3 years old, he left behind the only home he had known in Malawi's Home of Hope orphanage and stepped into a completely new world, one filled with possibilities he could have never imagined. Gone were the days of uncertainty, limited health care, and basic survival. In their place came access to world-class medical care, elite education, and a stable, loving environment provided by one of the most influential women in the world. It was more than a change of scenery. It was a rebirth. David didn't just gain a mother, he joined a blended, multicultural family. Madonna's household was already home to her biological children, Lourdes Leon and Rocco Ritchie, and later included other adopted siblings from Malawi, including Mercy James and twin sisters Esther and Stella. The family was united not by blood, but by love, shared values, and a deep commitment to supporting one another. In this diverse and dynamic environment, David found belonging. His siblings, many of whom had experienced similar beginnings, became companions and confidants, helping to shape his sense of identity and purpose. Whereas most adopted children settle in undramatically, David's acclimatization occurred under international scrutiny. Being Madonna's child, he was immediately immersed in the public spotlight. Red carpet appearances, continental travel, and tabloid and headline coverage. In spite of the glare of publicity, Madonna took extensive efforts to establish an atmosphere of routine and normalcy. She instilled in him the importance of education, discipline, and being exposed to culture, so that David's life would be balanced by privilege with wisdom. His life was incredible, but it was also strongly rooted in routine, virtue, and the value of not forgetting where he was from. With his health regained and a positive environment surrounding him, David's fate was not constrained by the conditions of his birth. Madonna stressed the importance of fostering his interests and passions, compelling him to chase his dreams, whether intellectual, creative, or sporting. David matured with his passions being music, soccer, and fashion, retaining with pride the lessons of yesteryear. His adoption was not so much an exhibition of humanitarianism, it was a passport to a future of hope, determination, and optimism. Life inside Madonna's world. Life inside Madonna's world was anything but ordinary. For David Banda, being adopted into the home of a global superstar meant stepping into a life of luxury, travel, and cultural exposure. But it wasn't all glitz and glamour. Madonna's household was run with intention and structure. Despite her fame, she was known for being a hands-on, disciplined mother. From an early age, David was enrolled in top-tier international schools and was exposed to diverse languages, cultures, and traditions. Education, health, and creativity were non-negotiables in Madonna's parenting style, and each of her children, David included, was raised with a sense of accountability and ambition. David grew up alongside siblings from a variety of backgrounds. Madonna's family included her biological children, Lourdes and Rocco, as well as several other children adopted from Malawi, Mercy James, and twins Esther and Stella. This multicultural environment gave David a sense of shared identity, especially with his Malawian siblings, who also navigated the complexities of being adopted into Western culture. Within this blended family, David not only gained companionship, but also found strength in shared experiences. Madonna emphasized unity and emotional connection among her children, encouraging them to support one another while embracing their unique individuality. Having Madonna as his mother ensured David was always in the public eye. Red carpet entrances and international tours were just two aspects of his life that were constantly under the microscope. In private, however, Madonna strove to provide her children with a normal existence. They were treated to unbelievable indulgences, private schooling, wellness programs, international travel, but Madonna insisted on discipline and impeccable values. Her children were taught to do chores, set boundaries, and develop themselves as individuals. For David, this mix of privilege and responsibility shaped a well-adjusted personality despite the celebrity that surrounded him. Madonna's household was also a hotbed of creativity. Being an accomplished artist herself, she saw fit to challenge her children to develop their skills. David, in particular, showed early aptitude for music, dance, and athletics. Whether it was taking guitar lessons, soccer practice, or test driving clothes, Madonna accepted his passions wholeheartedly. She did not invest money in things, she invested time. From cheering for soccer games to touring with him, Madonna was an involved and supportive presence. Her belief in David's talent created a healthy atmosphere in which he felt free to chase his dreams with confidence and direction. Amid the structure, support, and creative freedom of Madonna's household, one passion began to rise above the rest for David: his unstoppable love for soccer. The soccer dream. From a young age, David Banda showed a deep and natural passion for soccer. While many children enjoy kicking a ball around, for David, it was more than just a pastime. It was an obsession. Growing up in Madonna's household, he would often spend hours dribbling in the backyard, studying the moves of international soccer legends and playing with relentless energy. His enthusiasm for the game was impossible to miss. Recognizing that his love for soccer wasn't just a phase, Madonna began taking his interest seriously, understanding that his talent could be nurtured into something much greater. Madonna's commitment to her children's passions has always been evident, and with David, she went above and beyond. She enrolled him in youth leagues, arranged for him to train with professional coaches, and frequently attended his games, often seen cheering proudly from the sidelines. Despite her demanding career, she made space to be present in his athletic journey. But this wasn't just about celebrity privilege. It was about discipline, hard work, and genuine love for the sport. Madonna treated David's dream with the same level of seriousness and structure that she brought to her own career. In 2017, Madonna took a life-changing decision to move her family to Lisbon, Portugal, a nation famous for its rich soccer culture and excellent training facilities. The relocation was largely for David's soccer career. He was admitted to the world-class Benfica Youth Academy, an elite-level academy famous for churning out elite-level sportsmen, including some of Europe's best football players. This was a huge step for David, as he moved from recreational play to training at a professional level. Benfica exposed him to demanding physical and mental tests that made him develop as an athlete and as a young man. David's experience at Benfica was not just an athletic chance. It was an opportunity to make a name for himself outside of his famous last name. In a world where hard work and commitment were the only currencies that counted, David gained respect on the field through perseverance, dedication, and determination. Coaches admired his drive, and it became apparent that he wasn't merely a celebrity kid. He was a young player with genuine potential. Whether or not David becomes a professional soccer player, his story illustrates the strength of fostering passion with purpose and how a dream, if pursued seriously, can lead to a new world. A star in the making. While David Banda was born into challenging circumstances and adopted into global fame, he has never relied solely on his mother's name to define him. Over the years, it's become clear that David is more than just Madonna's son. He's a budding star in his own right. Whether on the soccer field, on stage, or at high-profile events, David brings a natural charisma and confidence that commands attention. From a young age, he displayed artistic instincts and a strong stage presence that hinted at a deeper creative spark, one that many now recognize as star potential. As David continued to advance in his soccer training and started showing up at international competitions, the media soon caught wind. Headlines changed from his adoption tale to his individual achievements. Fashion magazines started complimenting his daring fashion sense, and sports analysts began acknowledging his sporting ability. Although some initially wondered if he was just taking advantage of celebrity privilege, David's commitment and presence started to quiet detractors. He wasn't merely appearing, he was appearing in style, demonstrating that he could endure the scrutiny of public life with elegance and sincerity. Madonna has played a large role in shaping David's early public persona. There is a reputation for encouraging the creativity of her children that extends to David, whom she has consistently praised for his motivation, charisma, and versatility. In interviews, she's stated that he reminds her of herself, ambitious, daring, and expressive. Her encouragement has extended beyond words. She's taken him to her concerts, collaborated with him on artistic projects, and given him opportunities to venture into fashion, music, and performing arts. Such active guidance has helped David develop his voice and style without losing sight of discipline and effort. David's trajectory indicates a complicated future. Whether he continues to pursue a professional soccer career, further explores fashion, or becomes a music or performance star, the foundation has been laid. He's already made his runway debut, performed for international crowds, and started music-related projects, accomplishments other wannabe stars spend years attempting to accomplish. Through the unusual pairing of talent, visibility, and diligent work, David Banda isn't just an uplifting story. He's a shining star waiting to happen, and the world's only now learning just how capable he really is. The uniqueness about David lies in being able to effortlessly leap between domains of influence, fashion, sport, music, and cause du jour, without getting lumped into being merely a single-minded niche. He is among a new generation of polymath talents who are not only classified by a solitary talent, but by their ability to impact culture wherever they go. Whether on stage, walking down a catwalk, or filming candid moments on social media, David brings authenticity and meaning to what he does. That adaptability, coupled with his ambition and transforming voice, makes him not only a new star in the making, but a potential icon in the making, an individual capable of forging his own destiny. Identity and homecoming. Growing up as the adopted son of one of the world's most famous women, David Banda's sense of identity was always complex. On one hand, he was raised in a world of privilege, global travel, and cultural sophistication. On the other, his roots lay in a rural village in Malawi, one of the poorest countries in the world. As he grew older and began to understand his past, questions naturally arose. Who am I beyond the spotlight? Where do I truly belong? For David, balancing these two vastly different realities became an essential part of his personal journey. Since day one, Madonna deliberately kept David grounded in his Malawian roots. Irrespective of the media flack and raised eyebrows over being culturally disconnected, she made sure that David knew where he originated from. For this purpose, she taught him about the history, culture, and language of Malawi, and instilled pride in his roots. She also made arrangements for her children, including David, to travel to Malawi, not as tourists, but as those returning to their heritage. The trips were designed to teach humility, appreciation, and a long-lasting connection to the land that formed his earliest experiences. In 2016, when David Banda was 10 years old, he traveled to Malawi for the first time since being adopted. The journey was emotional and powerful, not just for David and Madonna, but for his biological family and the entire village. Welcomed with music, dancing, and genuine celebrations, David was able to see his birth father and younger siblings. The reunion was also a highly personal and symbolic one, reconnecting David with his blood relatives and his homeland. His father, David Banda, was proud and overjoyed, noting David's humility and kindness, and how proud he was of the young man David had become. Rather than choosing to identify with either side of his life or the other, David has embraced both sides of his life. He honors his Malawian heritage and also thrives in the artistic, cosmopolitan lifestyle Madonna raised him in. As he continues into adulthood, his experiences have enabled him to construct a unique identity which combines resilience, international mindedness, and ethnic pride. David would often mention that he wanted to maintain a constant connection with Malawi, and even spoke of returning one day to work for his people. His return was not a visitation, more so an emblematic transition to self-awareness, through which he could walk firmly with one foot in both realities. That doubled sense of self has become a deciding influence in David's life. Rather than seeing his identity as a schism between two worlds, he's beginning to see it as a bridge between vastly disparate cultures, histories, and perspectives. That hasn't just shaped his worldview, but also influenced his creative output, from the music he's drawn to listen to the fashion statements he makes on the world stage. By embracing his African heritage and his universal upbringing, David is creating an identity that is rich in many ways and resonates with youth all over the world who are also living between worlds. His story represents a new kind of modern identity, strongly rooted, yet in transition, deeply grounded in tradition, yet open to change. Life in the spotlight. From the moment Madonna adopted David Banda, he was thrust into the global spotlight. Unlike most children who grow up in relative privacy, David's life was followed closely by the media from day one. Every milestone, from his first appearances with Madonna to his early steps into sports and fashion, was documented, analyzed, and often scrutinized. This level of attention brought both advantages and challenges. While it opened doors and provided visibility, it also meant David had little room for mistakes, growth, or privacy during his most formative years. Even though Madonna grew up in a high-profile family, she did her best to make her children's lives as normal and down-to-earth as possible. David was sent to private schools that focused on learning, creativity, and discipline. At home, there was a focus on chores, routines, and values, rather than fame and luxury. Madonna's approach to parenting sought to counterbalance the over-the-top opportunities that were part of their celebrity existence with the value of hard work, responsibility, and authenticity. This served to keep David grounded in personal growth, even in living under a public microscope. As David matured, he assumed control over his public image. On social networking websites like Instagram, he started to post glimpses of personality, style, and creative interests, giving fans and followers a better sense of himself. From posting his music performances to making big fashion declarations, David used the sites to claim his identity beyond being Madonna's son. His confidence, charisma, and uniqueness started to shine through, gaining him respect for more than his famous surname. He gradually transformed from a media figure into a creator of his own story. Being under the limelight is privilege and pressure at the same time. Even as David has at his disposal resources and networks that are in short supply for so many others, he is also under constant expectation by the public, by the media, perhaps even by himself. Every move he makes is watched, compared, and critiqued. But instead of withering under that pressure, he appears to be emerging above it. With the help of his family and his own growing sense of self, David keeps riding out fame with maturity and initiative. His is a testament to the notion that while being born or adopted into the spotlight might determine your beginning in life, it needn't necessarily determine your future. What's most noteworthy is that David has managed to utilize the spotlight as a tool instead of a trap. Instead of being choked by public attention, he's utilized his position to magnify his voice, interests, and values, whether through employing his popularity to promote individuality through his outrageous fashion sense, or promoting creativity and dedication through his music life. David is charting a course for what it is to be famous as an adolescent. He's not only reacting to fame, he's going out of his way to redefine it, showing that the spotlight can be an arena of empowerment when employed with intention and authenticity. And as David learned to navigate the glare of fame, he began channeling that spotlight into something greater, his own creative passions and entrepreneurial pursuits, music, fashion, and entrepreneurship. David Banda's connection to music began early, growing up in a home where creativity and performance were everyday parts of life. With Madonna as both a mother and mentor, music naturally became part of his world. Over time, David developed his own talents, not only as a dancer, but also as a guitarist and performer. During Madonna's celebration tour, he performed live on stage, captivating audiences with his stage presence and rhythm. More than just a guest appearance, it was a clear sign that David was ready to step into the music world on his own terms, blending natural talent with years of guidance and experience. David has also carved out a niche for himself in the fashion industry, turning heads with his bold sense of style. Whether he's emerging on the scene in gender-fluid attire, show-stopping pieces, or vintage pieces borrowed from Madonna's own wardrobe, his fashion statements always hit the headlines. His debut on the runway for Off-White's Spring 2025 collection during New York Fashion Week cemented his place in the industry. Whereas most celebrity kids copy trends, David makes them, fusing confidence, culture, and creativity. For him, fashion is not mere self-expression. It's a platform for visibility, identity, and unapologetic individuality. David is not just exploring creative endeavors, he's also exploring entrepreneurship. In 2024, he launched an online guitar lesson, offering private lessons to students worldwide. Sold with humor and passion, the lessons are open to anyone from beginners to professional musicians. With professional rates and limited availability, David is building himself as both an artist and a brand. This venture demonstrates he's not just looking to act, he's also figuring out how to monetize his talent and establish a sustainable career that fulfills both his passion and entrepreneurial skills. Although his last name opens doors, David Banda is determined to build something that's truly his own. If it's music, fashion, or entrepreneurship, he's going fearlessly in a direction that obliterates his own identity from the shadow of his mother. What's so fascinating about his tale is that he's not rushing for fame. He's building a foundation. Under Madonna's mentorship and on his own, David is establishing a multifaceted career founded on talent, creativity, and a distinct vision. Growing up, it's increasingly evident. David isn't just growing up in the spotlight, he's using it to pave the way for himself. What sets David apart, too, is his willingness to synthesize cultural influences in his products, drawing on both his Malawian heritage and his global upbringing. In music, he pours Afrobeat rhythms and global sounds, drawing on a broad musical palette, at once authentic and transgressive. In fashion, his collections often pay homage to African prints and textures, reimagined through the lens of high fashion. This cultural mashup isn't just for show, it's intentional. David is building a brand that honors where he's from, but takes in the international attention he now inhabits, and his identity ended up being anchored and revolutionary. From an orphanage in Malawi to global stages and fashion runways, David Banda's journey is living proof that where you start doesn't have to define where you're going. If this story inspired you, hit that like button and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what surprised you most. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss more powerful stories just like this one. And hey, don't stop here. Click on the next video on your screen to dive into another story that'll blow your mind.